God requires you to show forth his light. And the mandate, we emphasize something. And I said, one of the things that we said, and sorry, I'm jumping. One of the mandate is that we must break, and I think we'll begin here. We must break the narrow religious mindset when it comes to kingdom businesses. Remember Deuteronomy 1:8 said, go and occupy. And that is the standard. When Christ called us, he said, go ye. We are sent to go. Every one of us must remember where you are, that is your harvest. Where you are, that is your assignment. And it's a very important issue. Now, by the way, now let me deal with this. Let me deal with this. Let me try and catch up with where I want to go. I was telling someone the other day here, this morning, not this afternoon. Can I give you a few points, then I go to one to share so that you don't lose this? Maybe we'll pick on that. The first thing I want to emphasize, number one, or is it number two, or number three? You need to understand that you're a businessman by design. You're a businessman by design. Going to business, I need you to understand, is a calling. So it is not just an interest. And that is why we need to distinguish. There are some of us who are in business because you failed or you lost your job. And this kind of people can only produce a church business. But there is a group that is there by design. There is an inner makeup that God ordained for you. When you look at something, you see opportunity. You begin to put one and two together. There is just an inner issue within you that God has put within you that makes you legitimate. Just like being a pastor. You know, like I have an interest in schools. I've learned from experience. Some of the qualified teachers, and I know I may not like what I'm saying, but some of those who went to teacher training college cannot produce as good as those who may have gotten a D in Form 4. But if you give this guy a chalk, he will give you a concept of maths that a qualified teacher cannot produce. Because teaching is first where? Is inside. Preaching is not in the Bible school. I think we understand that. There are many people who have been to better theological college than all of us. They have gone to Oral Roberts and all the big ones. But they cannot produce a message. Because preaching is first what? Is inside. Politics is not something you learn. It is also inside. I mean, you can try and do it. If it's not inside of you, to bore you. Are we together? Just like business must be, because God designed some of us to be business people. And we need to mature you to make that inner thing to become a reality. Number 4, you need to know that God's kingdom operates beyond religious boundaries. God's kingdom operates beyond religious boundaries. You cannot establish a successful business with a religious mindset. And I'll come back to this point again. Now, last year, a certain women rep went to a hotel in Kericho. You guys remember that hotel? Yeah. And she was denied permission to sleep, with whoever she was with, because they did not have a marriage. And this guy said, because we are a Christian, that I call stupidity. Let me tell you something. And I'm going to come to that. Where is the money? Where is the money? It's not in the church. Yeah. Where is the money of this nation? The Bible says the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the... So where is the wealth? With the wicked. So if you chase away the wicked, what have you chased away? Because the wicked are the ones with the money. So God is giving you a bridge to bring in resources to God's kingdom. Na wewe unangojea wa ndugu. And how many ndugu sleep in your hotel? Ndugu watenda Grogon Road kutafuta ka hotel ka 1,000. I mean, you're not believers. I'll come there, please. Now, let me land somewhere. Let me get this. Don't mind. We'll get there. Now let's now go to her. Now, quickly, I finish with a statement. We must learn to work the system. We must learn to work the system to advantage. Now, I don't know if I go there. Can we avoid? Do I need to? I'm trying to get something. Let me leave this issue of systems. Now let's go to Luke chapter number 4. Let's go to Luke chapter 4 and let's begin there. Let's get deeper into this thing. Let's go to Luke chapter 4 and I want us to look at the second temptation of Jesus Christ. Let's begin from verse number 5. Verse 5, Luke chapter 4. Then the devil taking him up on a high mountain. Now one question that I've always bothered my mind, how did the devil take Christ? But that's another day's subject. On a high mountain showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. Verse 6. And the devil said to him, all these authority, number 1, I will give you, and their glory, number 2. For this has been delivered to me, not the word delivered. And I give it to whomever I wish. Verse 7. Therefore, if you will worship before me, all will be yours. Verse 8. And Jesus answered and said, get behind me, Satan, for it is written, you will worship the Lord your God, and him only will you serve. I want to share 3 things that you'll notice. So the devil takes Christ and he shows him 3 spheres. And I'm going to qualify my point. And he says, all these 3 spheres were delivered to me. So the first sphere, and maybe let me do the word delivered. For example, man of God, I deliver this. Does it belong to him? It belonged to? But because it was given to him by a circumstance, now he owns it. So the devil is telling Christ that these 3 spheres belong to somebody else, and that is Adam in the Garden of Eden. And when he sinned, he lost these things, and now they're being delivered to me. Now, and you'll notice something. Jesus didn't dispute. Jesus does not argue with the devil. No, he shouldn't do it. No. Jesus does not argue they do not belong to you. He accepts them. And he does not deal with those declarations of the devil. Now, let me first deal with the 3 components. He says, number 1, the kingdom of this world. That means the geographical territories of this world belong to the devil. The geographical territory belong to the devil. And let me now tell you, all the nations of this earth, they bow to Satan. He runs the nations and the systems that govern the nations. They are under his sway. The kingdoms, the nations of this earth, the geographical spheres are under the influence. And that is what the Bible in John 12:31, John 14:30, and John 16:11, Satan is referred to as the prince of this world. So every power that you see is under the sway and the influence of the kingdom of darkness. I will shortly prove that. Number 2, he tells Christ, all the authority, in other words, all the powers that run the affairs of the nation are mine. And if you doubt me, what powers run the nation? It's called media. Who controls the media? You know, that's a very powerful power. Is that not true? Who controls the county governments? Who controls the governments? I will tell you, if you go deeper, it is founded on Babylonian principles. Because all the authorities of the lands of the earth are under his sway and were delivered to him when Adam fell. Politics, all those things. Then number 3, he tells the devil, all the glory. Glory speaks of wealth. Glory speaks of power. It speaks of money. All the resources of this earth have also been legitimately delivered to me. When Adam fell, he lost these three spheres. Now, let me just deal with these issues of systems. And let me make it very practical so that you can understand the systems of the world. Let me ask a question. Let's go to politics. Let's begin with politics. And let's use our Kenyan context. Who controls the politics of this nation? Is it the church or is it Babylon? In fact, the only time they need us is during election. When they come for prayers, after we pray for them, you will see them in 2022. In fact, they will tell the Christians, hii siasa ni chafu, mutuachi. Because all the do you know 90% of the Senate, 90% of the MPs, 90% of the MCAs are all not born again? Thank you, man of God, for agreeing. Probably even more than 90%. I'm just being very fair. That means who controls our government? Let's go to the public service. Public servant. Those who are in authority. You know, don't talk about the sweeper, the ushers. You know, those are Kadamo. Those ones don't change anything. Let's talk about who is who in the political system of our nation. 95% don't know God. In fact, we can count them. Let me begin by calling the bishop, the ACC chairman. What do you call the guy? That's one of them. The other one is, I would call Maraga. Let's bring him in. Give me any other. You can actually, that's how much the enemy controls the sway of even public service. They run the policy, that is why corruption is just a normal thing. Because the believers are the clerks, the junior managers who don't have power and influence to change anything. So he says, so the devil tells Christ, all these privileges have been delivered to me. Let's go to the entertainment industry. One of the biggest voluminous industry that is literally bringing in billions of shillings. Who controls the entertainment industry? Not the believers. That is where the money is. In fact, the closest we have is Churchill. The closest the church has is Churchill. Who on Monday in classic is not, I'm not so sure, you know. Anyway, let me not go there. Let's go to the music industry. The biggest singers don't come from the church. We have some of the best talent in the church. In fact, I was watching comedy on Friday. There was a thing on TV on musicians. Most of them were singing gospel songs. As in the giftings are generally coming from the church. But I assure you, by the time Babylon is done with many of them, they will be singing other things and doing other things. Because the talent is in the church, but the influence and the money is not in the church. And we must rethink on how we are doing music. And I'll come there. So the devil tells Christ, bow down, worship me, and I'll give you these things. And now Christ emphasized something. And Christ says something. You can gain glory, you can gain power using Babylonian system. And you can also gain power and glory using the kingdom system. So Christ tells the devil, I don't need to bow down to your method, which is lie, steal, cheat, and bribe. My brother will be a millionaire here. How many of you understand that? All I need is an AK-47 right now and I can collect a big offering plus your telephone calls. So you can do that and become great. You can also work the kingdom system. Our problem, we carry it every day. We come to church every Sunday. We read it, but we don't understand it, or we understand it, but don't apply it. And that's where we must learn to work kingdom system to advantage. Today I had lunch. You know, we had lunch in a certain restaurant run by our Somali brothers. Those guys are using kingdom principles to open those branches. You carry that Bible. I'm telling you, everything they are doing is in your Bible. They are working the kingdom system to their advantage. I'm going to learn this thing. And so we must teach you. Ecclesiastes 10 and verse 5, and we'll come to this scripture. Ecclesiastes 10, verse 5 to 7. The Bible says, there is an evil I have seen under the sun, as an error proceeding from the ruler. Verse 6. Folly is set in great dignity, while the rich sit in lowly places. The church, who is a rich one, is sitting in lowly places. Verse 7. I have seen servants on horses, while princes walk on the ground like servants. I'm telling you, if you know who you are and what God has put inside of you, you are the one they should be carrying the briefcase for. I mean, you come to our politics. Those who speak badly become the popular ones. Have you noticed? That's the folly. That's the folly of this fallen system that is run by Babylon. And you will Facebook, but can I tell you something? It is a folly. Some of the best romance music singers, the Luther Vandross, the Whitney Houstons, all of them had amazing gifting in music, but they couldn't keep a marriage. It is a folly. They can make you laugh, but they could not do it themselves in their own life. Lionel Richie, they are in their third divorces. It's called a folly. It's called putting fools in high places. We who should be singing love songs and have good marriages are fearful. That's a demon I've just touched there. You know, if we break away from this religious mindset, you know, the church, tumejifunga. Let me take this thing slowly. It's called the era of leadership, the foolishness. Because the righteous sit back and watch. And they say, Mungu ingilia katika. Now, unajua Mungu hawezi ingilia katikati. How many we forget Genesis chapter 1 verse 7, chapter 1? What did God say? And God finished. And he did what? He rested. God will never, ever enter into these affairs again. It is you and I to enter katikati. You are the solution, not God. He finished and he rested. And he's waiting for the church to come to its fullness. I had a lady doctor who was a friend of mine, and she worked in the ranks and eventually was promoted and became the MOH in the hospital. And I will not say the name of the hospital. MOH means she's running the district hospital. She's a CEO in the current, you are understanding. And so when I went to visit her, she said, Pastor, come and bless me, come and pray for me. So when I went into her office, big, large office, like 2 secretaries. I mean, she's large. People are queuing. So she had told the lady, when you hear Pastor Ken, jump him in and I'll let him come in. So, of course, I was quickly taken into her office. When I entered her office, so as I came in and I was sitting down and we are beginning this traditional gifts, you know, someone barges in with checks and tells her, Madam, sign like 3. Blank. And she asked very shyly, Niza nini, we madam sign, nitakuexplainia baada. And she signed. And the guy walked. And I got angry. God has given you an opportunity to make a difference. But you allow this system to box you. You are the CEO. It is your signature that is removing money. How do you trust this accountant to sign a blank check 1 year down the road, she was calling me, Pastor, I have resigned the job. I would rather be a normal doctor. Because she could not work the system using kingdom principles. And that's where we have a problem with many believers. And I'm going to learn this together. Because most of us are not ready to assert our faith, to assert our discipline and our order to work the system using kingdom's principles. Last year, there were strikes all over the country. I don't know if you noticed that. Towards the end of the term, our president went to, I think it was KICC. He was invited by Catholic schools, the principals and the teachers. And he made a statement, man of God, and he said, I want to emphasize that the government should partner more with the Catholic Church because no Catholic school went on strike. Because they are using what system? Kingdom system to run their schools. And that is why they are not having those stupid strikes that are burning everywhere. And the president promised that he will give them a vote from the government or whatever to support and to build their church. And then we are asking ourselves, kwa nini wanatushinda? Hii tunaongea kwa ndimi, we are barabaraba ziring. It is called the evil under the sun. Where fools sit in high places, where the rich occupy lowly places. May God give us. let me help you. We did not understand the books of the Hebrew book of faith. We did not understand that these guys were heroes of faith. In fact, for example, David, what did he take from David? He was a worshiper. Hallelujah. The man loved to worship. That's what we know about David. Mfalme Daudi aka nguozika. Before David was a worshiper, David was first a statesman. Before David was a worshiper, David was first a ruler. Before David was a worshiper, David was a fighter. When he came to Babylon, David was a man of purpose. Naaman, Nehemiah, all of these guys were professional people who are doing kingdom. I mean, for Nehemiah to tell the king, I need to go to my people. And the king to give him an offering, an escort, and a letter. This man was a man of substance. Don't just see kumwaga wine kwa mfalme. No, the guy had weight. Are we together? Lakini washirika, when they go near the kings, they want to sing and pray and pour oil on them. No, these guys were workers that when they, hey, goodness. Esther was first a very good wife. That when she came to the king could not resist. Kuna wengine ukikuja watu nashindwa leo neka weka hake. We need a church that does not just read the Bible, but the Bible will be read in them. Let me repeat that statement again. We need a church that does not just read the Bible, but that the Bible is read in them. Because righteousness exalts a nation. We are the salt of the earth. We are the light of the world. So the world needs us. But we cannot go with the world using their principles. We cannot cheat. We cannot lie. They will defeat us. We go with in the world using kingdom principles to work the system to advantage. The Lord's Prayer, verse 9, John 17, verse 9. We'll jump. I pray for them. I do not pray for the world. But for this whom, not the Lord's Prayer, but Christ is praying for them. Of this whom you have given me, for they are yours. Verse 11. Now I am no longer in the world, but these are in the world. And I come to you, Holy Father. Keep through your name those whom you have given me, that they may be one as we are one. Let's jump to verse 15. I do not pray that you should take them out. What has been our message? Take us out, God. You are praying even against the one who died for you. His message is, I pray that you don't do what? Take them out. But that you, out of the world, but that you should keep them from the evil one. Our focus now is, God, we are here. What we need is your protection. Now there's a very controversial scripture, and I know this one. Let's go to 2 Corinthians. Let's go to 2 Corinthians. We mispreach this scripture. Then I'm going to try and learn this ship. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14 to 18. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14 to 18. But do not be unequally, please notice that word, unequally yoked together with the unbelievers. For what fellowship has righteousness with lawlessness? And what communion has light with darkness? Let's move on, verse 16. And what accord has Christ with Belial, or what has a believer with an unbeliever? Move on. Let's jump to verse 17. Therefore come out from among them and be separated, says the Lord, and do not touch what is unclean to receive it. But I want to focus on, do not be unequally yoked together with the unbelievers. This scripture has been misused in the church. And I think we need to go back to, and we were discussing this with Pastor Mark here. One of the biggest disservices is that when we read the Bible, we read it in English, but this Bible was written in Greek. New Testament was written in Greek, Old Testament in Hebrew. Our problem is that we read it in English. And there are many politics behind those who interpreted and translated some of these Bibles. Some words were not deliberately exposed to us, and I don't want to go into that theological argument. But now let me explain the principle of yokes. Those of us who have done farming, the old generation farming, tractor, we used to do with bulls. Gigi, you know that. How did you yoke yoking? You put a bull with another bull. Two primary things. The bulls must be of equal size and equal strength. Height, thank you. Are we together? For them, you cannot put a bull with a donkey. That is called an equal yoking. Because the bull is so powerful, you know the bull has a bigger neck. It will turn to the left and literally crush the donkey's neck. So Jesus is teaching a principle using the system of the day. He's saying, when you yoke Christians, don't yoke Christians or don't yoke two people who are not equally matched. In size, in strength, and in power. Are we together? Now let me deal. This is a very serious demon here. And I'm going to help some people here. There is a lady by the name of Michelle Williams. She appears on, I'm sure you've known this LA Preachers program, Preachers of LA. And she's a worship leader, she's a pastor. This lady visited Nigeria. And she had a song sung by some Nigerian worship leader, just the way my brother here has led music. And she liked the song, went and took Beyonce, and they wrote a song, When Jesus Says Yes. When Jesus says yes. And the song became a big hit. Globally. Up to Muslim world, they were singing in their bars when Jesus. Because when Beyonce sings a song, it doesn't matter how stupid it is. It does what? It sells. So what does this woman do? This woman herself, she's a bull. In her own right, she's a bull. She's a writer, she's a composer, she's a designer. But she needed the strength of this young lady here to bring visibility to the music. And the music has swept the world. And I know most religious people will not agree with me. This woman made the whole world to confess. When Jesus says yes, nobody can say no. Please, study. What am I challenging you to do? We need to stop narrow thinking. Study the building of Solomon's temple, the wisest man in the land. This guy was so smart. Solomon never carried even a sword one day. He never had to fight anybody, and not that there were no enemies. You see, his father David, amekataa leta tuende vita. But Solomon had wisdom. He knew how to work the system to his advantage. He had an assignment to build a temple. So he did not need to waste time fighting the Philistines. What did he do? He made treaties with them. They had precious stones. They had wood he needed. So he made a deal. We have this. You guys have this. I give you. You give me. You have this skill. I have this skill. Let's come. Do you know the temple of Solomon was not necessarily built by believers? It was built by Babylon. Hekalu ya Bwana Yesu. Please study that scripture again. God's temple was not built by the church alone. Solomon used wisdom to work the system to his advantage and to fulfill the mandate of God in his. Now let me deal with this thing. We have three problems. We have three kinds of believers. And this is why we have a problem. So we have one believer who is the majority of the Christian who believes in separation. 70% or 80% of the church believes in separation. They are saved. They want nothing to do with the world. They don't want to be, mkiongea politics, wanaona wewe umeanguka. When you talk, yani wana utakatifu yao, yani. That's a first believer. And they're almost 80% of the church. And that's why we have a problem. This church has kept itself off. That is why when TV was discovered, the first people to call it a devil was this group. When Facebook came, it is this same group. Hii ni kitu ya wajiga. But now Facebook, we are preaching the gospel. 80% of the church has separated its. Now those of us who want to go to TV must pay millions. Because we are not there to take advantage when it came. Hallelujah. I used to play. I used to play football as a young man. Up to university, I played football. I played rugby. And when I got born again, they came to my room and they told me, man of God, you cannot mix. You cannot be equally yoked with the we pekee ndio umeokoka kwa hiyo timu yote watakumeza. Instead of telling me be the strong one and be the light, because where do we need the light? We don't need the light here. I would be the Messi today, but now I would be signing autographs and taking selfies with you guys. Bwana. Because I was told, man of God, you cannot continue playing rugby. Unagonga watu weni, hiyo ni mchezo gani ya kugonga. Wachana na hii. I was a bit, nimefura kidogo. I used to go to the gym and I was forbidden to do these things. It is stupidity. And now I'm suffering. Separation. Number two, man of God, as I was going to India, because I studied in India, I went to an office of one of the leaders of this country. He ruled, quite a friend of my father. He took me, and he gave me his card. And his card had these two titles, BA Economics, and then LLB. So I turned to him and asked him, what does LLB mean? I didn't know LLB is law. So he told me this is law. So in my mind, I decided I'll be like this guy. I'm going to do economics, and then I'll do law. And lo and behold, I did economics. That one I did. But I got saved. And Bonke said, he is coming back soon. So, tukachana na nini? 30 30 years later, my brother. 30 years, he has not come. I remember a sister telling me, man of God, if a client comes and wants to be represented and he has done this and this, will you represent him? No, you can't, brother. Wacha tuhubiri injili. Injili ende mbele. Inachoma. Bwana ilituchoma. 30 years later, bado inatuchoma. Imagine if I was representing Uhuru Kenyatta during the Supreme Court ruling. I was the Ngatia. How much tithe I would be pouring back in the church? Because we taught separation. Let me challenge you guys. The church is not about hiding. The church is not about being fearful. Our responsibility is to strengthen you to go to darkness, because light is needed where? In darkness. You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. We don't need you here. Are we together? We want you in politics. We want you in business. We want you in careers. We want you to shine the light. This separatism must end. We must break those cocoons. I'm serious. I got born again 30 years ago, last year. This is now my 31st year. And Christ has not even said, wacha nianze kurudi. We are still here. How many of you know we have given the devil too much airtime? Yes, sir. We have given the devil too much airtime. Please, let's not fear him. He already fears you. But we have been fearing him. And that's why I made a statement of a lunch hour. There's no saved business. The only saved person is you. Hakuna biashara imeokoka. Ni wewe ndio umeokoka. Then we have the second group, and this is a dangerous group. They're called they integrate, wanachanganya. Leo Sade wako kanisa wanazunguka na sisi, Made haujui wewe ni ndugu ni dada. This is almost 15% in the church. They lose the power of Christ. Immediately they go to Babylon and they behave. This one I'll have to say it. We have a young man. You know, one of the biggest problems, some of these celebs are young. And they become great in their youngness. And they have no mentoring, no fatherhood. They begin the song with Willie Pose. Willie Paul. Now, next time you look at the video, like, you know, there is no consistency in what they're doing. We must, tafadhali, kama umeamua, wewe ni wa Yesu. Baki wa Yesu. Hii mambo ya leo unaguza hapa, kesho unaguza hapa, wachana nayo. Anguka tu kabisa, then utaamua urudi. Hakuna haja Sade. But the group that we need, and it's 5%, is called the transformative group. And that's what we need. These ones, Jesus engaged the world. And please, Jesus was never shy of engaging the world. But he came out without sin. But by changing where every environment he went to, he made sure the place was better. He will go for lunch in a tax collector who is a thug, a thief, and have lunch. But by the time he has eaten lunch, the whole house knows salvation. Zacchaeus is saying, wale wote nimeibia, wacha wakuje niwarudishie. That's what Christ did. He transformed every environment he went to. He would talk to prostitutes, and when this prostitute goes to town, he releases salvation to his friends, because that's what we want. What do we need to do? What are the lessons? Number one, when we go to the world, we must think systems. We must think systems. Because this world has a system. They have a way the police operate. There is a way the road operates. Everywhere there are rules. You buy a boda today and try and park anywhere. Utafukuzwa. Umelipa kajo. Ama nunua matatu. Pick up a Kenko. Muone ka utabeba. Because there are systems that run those bus stops. So what do we need to do? We must also operate our own systems. The church must think systems. Let me give you this story. There's a pastor, and we need this wisdom. We need this wisdom, Gigi. In fact, there are many prophets, Apostle. There are many prophets that are sitting here. But your prophetic mantle is not one of thus says the Lord. Because some of us have been called to a prophetic office, apostolic office, pastor office. You understand? But there are those of you who operate with a prophetic gift in the business realm. You dream ideas, you dream things, you see things. If I do this and change this, I'll get this result. You are able to advise your boss to change methodology and there are better results. That's a prophetic gift that God has given to you for the business environment. Our problem, because we have a very Pentecostal mind, you want to go to your boss and begin to prophesy, Rabakasaha. The guy is not even born again. And then you begin to say, to speak in King James English. I don't know, how many of you know you can speak prophetically without giving, thus saith the Lord. You can give an idea, because that's what we need. We need business people with a prophetic anointing who can decode things in the heavenlies and speak them so normally. We need systems. So there's a pastor friend of mine in this city who had a church in Tintin restaurant, struggling to pay, I think, 250,000 a month. And so he could not be able to do certain things. You know, when you pay 250,000, a few years ago, that was a lot of money. And the guy was, the church was growing and etc., but they were struggling. Meeting, because, you have your house rent, you have the workers, blah, 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 equipment. It was such a big, colossal investment. So I told him, brother, work the system. The problem we have, man of God, and I'm really against all of you professionals. These professionals are so wise. When you see them in their jobs, they're intelligent people. When they talk to their bosses, the English and the vocabulary they remove. But let them come to church. They become dumb zombies, thick people. Monday to Friday, Babylon gets better use of your wisdom. When you're giving your CEO, this is the way to go. You're using prophetic gift that man of God you've released, a prophetic mantle. They're giving solutions to their boss. But when they come to the church, very thick people. In fact, they have 5 words. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. Amen. Yes, Lord. 5 words in the vocabulary. No wisdom. Then they say, you have not helped the kingdom of God. We are struggling to solve problems. And you have the wisdom, and you're giving the wisdom that God has given to you to leverage Babylon. And the best, they will say, I'm an usher. I serve the Lord as an usher. Nonsense. GG, we have solutions here. The goal that is seated here, we can build KICC times 2. Here. Because the prophetic wisdom has been released on all of you. This week, the gates, there is wisdom to possess the gates. So I told this man of God, change your design, change your tact. So I advised him, look at the demography of your members. And he said, most of my members come from a certain estate. So I told him, number 2, look for a government school in that area. And he found a school with a depleted hall. It's been run down. The ceiling board is, smelling, because they don't even use a hall because it's so depleted. Then I told him, approach the headmaster. And don't go there as church because you'll not get it. You must know how to work the system. So you go there as an investor. So he went to this school and he told the headmaster, we want to invest in your school. We want to partner with you and rehabilitate this ceiling board, give tiles here, restore the toilets on one condition. You will give us a 5-year lease. We shall pay. We'll reap back our investment in 5 years. And then it is renewable. And we also want 2 classes which we shall be using, and you must guarantee us every Wednesday and every Sunday we shall be having our meetings. And the principal was so excited, he didn't think. He signed quickly. With the investors. Only for him to come on Sunday. Let me tell you something. You must know how to work the system to your advantage against Babylon. Because if you go there, they will not give you the whole. We have wisdom in the church. Another man of God, he was being tempted to, he rented a big house somewhere in a nice upmarket place. And the landlord had bank problems and was begging the pastor. He was paying rent of 130 per month. And was telling the man of God, why don't you buy this house? I'll give it to you. It was 40 million. I can't remember the amount. And so he consulted me and said, Pastor, I actually came, and it's a nice 4-bedroom house with a servant's quarter, nice parking, gated community, almost 45 million. I can't remember the amount. I took a calculator and I told him, man of God, I need to cane you. Juu utabadilisha ujumbe yako in 1 year. Utaanza panda mbegu. A mortgage. Google that word again. The root word of the word mortgage is the word morgue. It comes from the root word morgue, which means to do what? No, it's good we tell you the truth here. That these banks, and now, goodness, some of these things must be exclusive. I assure you, you will labor all your life to own that one house. You will never do anything else. And I told the pastor, I would rather you go to Westlands, take a mortgage on a what do you call it? A floor in a building. It will pay itself from offices. Rent can never pay itself because the bank wanted him to pay 275,000 a month. His rent was 130. So I said, in case you move, how much will you ever pay? That means every month you must look for 100,000. Your kids now are in nursery, primary. The day they're in the university, ndio utauziwa hii nyumba yako mchungaji. Let me tell you, this wisdom, we must know how to work this system. We cannot think the same way. The fact that the world is doing it, my brother, we must find new ways of bringing wealth. Now, I formed a group, and this one I'll give it free of charge. So what we've done, every month, because property is very expensive. It is not very easy to buy property alone. And if you buy property alone, for example, in Nairobi, you'll take a loan, take 10 years to pay it back. Then take another loan to be the foundation. Then take another loan to do the ceiling. By the time you move in, you're 57. Is it making sense to you? So I said, guys, so we have formed a group of 10 people. Every month. Just give ourselves time. Every month. We all give a certain portion. Let's talk. Let's say 50,000 a month. All of us. Or let's even make it practical. 20,000 a month times 10 people. That's how much? 200,000 in a month. Times 12 months. 2.4. In the next year, how much will you have? 4.8. 4.8, we can comfortably buy a quarter acre. Okay? In a reasonable place in Nakuru. Then, we now go back to the second phase, building it. But now we build apartments. So we all stay in apartments. Tabu yako ni unataka ukae peke yako geti yako. Wacha uchoyo. Why don't we build flats, 3-bedroom each? We build 9 houses in the apartment with parking. We can add whatever we want to add. Build it in 2 years or 3 years. Title deed inaanza John Kamau, Susan Nyawera, mpaka watu walanzo wana complain because of the many names in the title. And then you get your own house. No loan, no debt, no sweat. When you retire, unachia your daughter or your son. Ama unachukua rent. We have to change how we are thinking. We can no longer, ati lazima ungangane peke yako, then peke yako. You will take 50 years to do what you can do. If you just partner. Hallelujah. I challenge us because we must know how to work the system. We must, because we cannot talk dominion if we don't own property. That's what I've always said here. If we don't own property, no dominion. That's why Sonko will call the stakeholders of Nairobi. No pastor is called because they don't own property. Until we own property, we become stakeholders. You begin to speak. They are on the way. Actually, they are here. I can feel them. I can feel them. Let's stop this narrow look of life. That's the challenge I'm trying to release to you. Let me give one example. Let me go to the music industry because I see we have very many powerful musicians here. There are two. I'll just give two comparisons. We have one young man. I've given his name here, and then we have Eunice Njeri, one of the most amazing, maturest gospel artists in our generation. I love her music, and we do quite a bit of songs. But the question is, between the two, who has greater sway and influence? Is the other one. Yet this other one is stronger, richer, deeper. But because of not knowing how to leverage the advantage she carries, this other one is smiling all the way to the bank. When you produce music, how many of you know, let me help you. You don't need to sing 10 songs. Fadhili Williams should have just understood one song. Malaika, nakupenda. He needed just to sing one song, pattern it, and make it big. Anybody who sang that song paid him. But nobody knows he sang it. Listen to me. Every one of you, God will always give you one song. How many songs? Every preacher, God will give you one message. How many messages? That is the one that you leverage on and maximize. And then you compound. Everyone. Eric Wainaina. Go left and right. You know him for one? Naishi. Najitolea. If all he needs to do is keep remixing the song, redoing the song. Adding a drum. I am a very adventurous person. I like, I don't want to say so many things, but some of you may just stumble here. But I'll tell you something. We must think. We must change our thinking. Because I took time to study why is Sauti Sol so big. Why are they so? In fact, in Kenya, I think that the biggest, that they are among the few who can fill a stadium and etc. They're among the few. What makes them big? What are their work ethics? In fact, I was telling, people admire you, man of God. I'm now telling you, I do admire you. It is easy to think that it is the introduction here, the suits and the tie. But let me tell you something. No. There is something Moses has said as we're driving. He says, this man of God, number one, is never late. That's a secret for this. Then number two, he says, this man of God will wake up early to make sure he's on time. This generation wants to have this, but they are lazy. They sleep up to 10 o'clock. In fact, lazima wakwe na alarm kama tano, ya simu, ya kegele. I mean, seriously, my brother. Baka umbwa pia inakupea. There is people want to inherit your mantle, but they must also inherit your work ethic. That is a key to your success. It is easy to do this when you speak, but let me tell you something. This platform has taken 20 years to make. Can you stand for 20 years? Because this generation wants quick success. And that is why you get tempted by 310. Utume ndio upate. No, this thing is a journey. It's what? It's a journey. And we must remind you that those work ethics is what makes Daniel Daniel. He gave himself. He worked hard. He sacrificed. He was mature. He planned. Man, we drive with this guy. We fly together sometimes. I mean, as we're in the plane, we are doing calculations. We are minusing, adding, dividing. Hesabu, calculator igiani. Bako unataka kutafuta calculator igine. Because ile hesabu wewe unapata na ile calculator nakupea hazifuana. But there is something we are trying to do. And I challenge this generation of young men. There is another level in God. There is another level. Let's go to the book of Judges and let's land this thing in the next 5 minutes. Judges chapter 9, verse 7 to 11. Judges chapter 9, next 5 minutes. And then we are going to pray. Now, are we there? When they, now when they told Jotham, he went and stood on top of the mountain of Gizram and lifted his voice and cried out, and he said to them, listen to me, you men of Shechem, that God may listen to you. Continue. The trees once went forth to anoint a king over them, and they said, let the olive tree reign over us. Now quickly, a quick review of the story. This is the son of Gideon. Gideon has died, and one of the brothers killed all the sons. And Jotham ran and hid himself. And now they're just about to make the king, one of the sons who had killed the brothers, to be the leader of the tribe of Gideon. And so Jotham appears and he gives the first parable in the Bible. This one is the first parable in the Bible. Jotham gives it. And he says, these guys, they went out and anointed an olive tree. And they said, reign over us. Let's go to verse 9. But the olive tree said to them, should I cease giving my oil, with which they honor God and men, and go and sway over trees? Let's move on. Then the tree said to the fig tree, you come and reign over us. So the olive tree refuses. He wants to give oil. And then the fig tree, verse 11. Then the fig tree said to them, should I cease my sweetness and my good fruit to go and sway over the trees? Let's move on. And then the trees say to the vine, so the third tree, you come and reign over us. Verse 13. And the vine said to them, should I cease my new wine, which shares both God and men, and go to sway over trees? Let's continue. And then the trees say to the bramble, you come and reign over us. Verse 15. And the bramble say to them, to the trees, if in truth you anoint me as king over you, then come and take shelter on my shade. But if not, let fire come out of the bramble and devour the cedars of Babylon. Now let me explain something. The bramble is like a fence. You know like a fence. One thing about a bramble, it has no shade. But because the olive tree, the fig tree, and the vine have refused to become the solution provider, the people now go to a fence. This is the church. Olive people, mimi wacha niimbe worship. Wacha ni lead kanisa. Upako. They have a lot of wisdom. Another one will say, mimi wacha nikahubiri injili. But they have so much, God has given so much wisdom, so much grace inside your life. My brother, let me tell you something. We are called to multitask. You look at T.D. Jakes. The guy is a writer. He's a singer. He's an actor. He's a preacher. He's a motivational. I mean, the guy has layers. Wewe unataka tu kuimba worship. I have a problem with you. Because, so what is happening is that those who are supposed to provide a solution have absconded their role. And now we are led by a bramble, like a fence. Na ndio kanisa iko sasa. And that is why anything can penetrate. What a folly. When fools do what? I pray that God will help us. become responsible in 2019 and possess the gates. I pray that we'll get angry with where you are. Yes, you'll never wake up of what you're not angry about. I pray that God will make you angry. Yes, and provoke you to move into the next level of your life and possess the gates of the enemy. Do you know the people of the world hustle for promotions? Lakini wewe umeokoka unawaachilia. The day for you to hustle for promotion has come. You also must show yourself worthy. Next time I come, I want to see I am promoted. I'm now the manager of the branch. You have been a clerk. How can you be a secretary for 10 years? Something is wrong, either with you or with the God you pray to. There must be the next level. We must possess the gates. We are the solution providers in this nation. Hallelujah. Let me have the guy on the keyboard here. I want to conclude this. Let's rise up on our feet.